The Golden Age of American Agriculture. Listen to part of a lecture in a history class, then answer the question we call the first 2 decades of the 20th century. Answer the question. Okay, I think there's supposed to be a full stop there. We call the first 2 decades of the 20th century the Golden Age of American Agriculture. What were the factors that made the period the Golden Age of American Agriculture? Who can offer some reasons? New strains of crops, improved farming methods, and what about greater use of pesticides and fertilizers? New types. Yeah, a strain is like a breed, like a particular type of something. A new strain of crop is like a newly specially created type. It's more like, let's say that they had wheat that they were growing that was the same wheat that they'd been growing when their ancestors lived in Europe. But now someone came along and said, well, here's a type of wheat that grows much better here in the United States. We bred this wheat on our scientific farm, and we're going to give it to you, for a certain amount of money. And so that's what I think that implies that they were newly developed seeds. Um, Technical advances continue to improve productivity. Um, the US Department of Agriculture set up demonstration farms to show how new techniques could improve crop yields. So this is about advanced technology or technique. The two are being talked about at the same time because technical advances could mean both. In 1914, Congress created the Agricultural Extension Service to advise farmers and their families about. So, technical advances could be both technology and technique. It could be what tools you use and how you use them. And usually the two go together. So, it implies technology. Um, so, what they're saying is they are saying the improvement of methods, but technology would have to be involved. That's what they are implying here. Yeah, so that's really point A. Um, to show how new techniques could improve crop yield. So they're showing them how to use those methods. In 1914, Congress created the Agricultural Extension Service to advise farmers and their families about everything from crop fertilizers to home sowing projects. So basically, they set up a government agency that gave advice to farmers. Um, Extension means outreach. Extension, yeah, it's a kind of old-fashioned way of talking about going beyond or um or they also might mean it might mean like improvement, extension or improvement might be implied there, but I think it means in this case it means outreach, I think, and new knowledge to agricultural practice. So it wasn't really about outreach. It was about improvement. But that's what they mean by extension here.
See, I still find something about extension service, which is in 1940. Is it correct or no? Oh,
Yeah, that's the same one. So here that they've called it the Cooperative Extension Service. So they might have changed the name at some point. It might have been the Agricultural Extension Service in when it was created, and now it's called the Cooperative Extension Service.
so is it like a company? Because I don't understand the meaning of
It's
service here.
a government agency.
Oh, government
So
agency. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
For example, MI6 service. I have heard that. I don't know if it's correct or not. Yeah.
Yeah, the Secret Service.
Yeah, Secret
Or
Service. Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's like an organization, something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's seen in this case, it's an organization that offers a service, so they just call it a service, and the
Hmm.
service is education.
Hmm. Perfect.
Yeah, it's a bit old-fashioned as a way of naming a bureaucracy. They would probably call it um, agricultural success hub or something now.
I got it. Agri
Success hub,
success hub. Okay.
like the learning hub.
Yeah.
They would probably use a different metaphor now, but it's the same idea.
Success hub. Okay. Yeah. That's a good. It has a positive meaning. Okay.
It's spin.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so the Department of Agriculture undertook new research developing hogs that fattened faster on less grain, as well as fertilizers that increased grain production, new hybrid seeds that developed into healthier plants. So this is the introduction of newly developed seeds, treatments that prevented or cured plant and animal diseases, and
Okay.
various methods for controlling pests were all introduced around this time.
So Adam, can you explain about this word? Developing hogs that fatten faster or on less grain. What does that phrase mean?
So it's pigs, a type of pig
Yeah.
that like instead of wasting energy from what it ate on growing strong,
Oh,
it would
okay.
grow fat.
Oh.
So, like they've done it with chickens as well. They breed these chickens that can barely even
Mm.
walk. And all
Yeah.
they do is
Just
kind of
eating and yeah, and
turn the food into flesh.
yeah, that's crazy. Has been yeah.
Um, so even though they mention in the next sentence, they mention and various methods for controlling pests were all introduced around this time, they don't really directly say that the government controlled pesticides. They imply that the government included information about pest control, but they don't talk about pesticides like poisons.
Mm.
I actually think pesticides happened a bit later, so that's why it's not mentioned here. Um, yeah, anything else? Wasn't there also some kind of population boom around then? Good farm prices were high as demand for goods increased and land values rose. However, the good years of the early 20th century ended following World War One. What was happening then? Maybe a lot of people, especially women especially, were moving from the farm to the cities. So this is not telling us anything very clear at the end here. But I think that points A and points C have been covered.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So, Adam,
So I think this is about some economic cause and effect. I think that if there's lots of demand for what you can grow, then your business is likely to be worth more because a farm is really you're selling two things. You're selling land and you're selling a business if
mm,
you're
yeah, good
valuing a
farm
farm.
prices. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think not every farm had a high price, but if they were good farms, which I think implies like successful farms, it's a bit vague, this part of the
Yeah,
this part of the
exactly.
talk. It's a bit unclear.